Alright guys, we just got through Thanksgiving here, and I thought, we're going into the season where we need some serving trays, especially for you Americans that haven't had Thanksgiving yet. This is a very simple build. This is only going to take one 8-foot 1x4. I'm going to show you how I make it, but you can make it with using very little tools, so it's super easy to do, and it's got good profit. You want to sell it at markets or whatever. So, having said all that, let's get to it. Alright, so here's pretty much everything we need to make this. We got a 1x4x8, so 3.5 inches wide, 3/4 of an inch thick. Make sure that whatever you're making is that it's no smaller than 3/4 of an inch thick, because if you get to 5/8, it really starts to get cuppy, warpy, whatever. Make sure when you're picking it out, it's nice and straight, because we do not want to have to do any running it through the table saw or planer or anything like that. We want to be good to go, nice and easy. Okay, so we're going to cut 5 pieces at the miter saw now. I'm not going to worry about cutting off the factory edge because this thing's going to be pretty rough by the time we're done. Okay, first 3 pieces, 24 inches. You think you can handle that? Probably don't put your tape measure here. Last 2 cut at 10 inches. 2 at 10 inches, 3 at 24. Okay, now I got to prep the boards before we do the assembly. So what I'm going to do, using a sander, I'm going to use a belt sander because I have one, but you can definitely do it with that. I'm just going to go around and I'm going to put roundovers on all around the top. And I'm just going to probably go down the corners too, but I'm going to leave the bottom flat. And the same thing with this, because it's going to go like this. So I want the bottom here to be flat so it sits nice against the boards. Nice and flat on the bottom, and then I kind of just round it. I'm probably going to straighten this out one a little bit, but just get it to wherever you want. But it's going to be a rustic piece, so there's no wrong way to do this. Anyway, when we come back, I'll be ready. So we had a mic failure here, and I'm going to do a voiceover to walk you through it. The bolts aren't long enough to go through both boards, so I'm going to drill the holes through the top breadboards, and then we're going to install the bolts in there, and then we're going to assemble it. So we're going to install the handles first, and then we're going to put it together. So center the handles on the breadboards and drill your holes with a drill bit larger than what the threads are for the bolts for the handles. And then you're going to do a countersink. So put your drill on low speed and drill a countersink that's just a little bigger than what the head of the bolt is, so it can be sunk under there like you see there, nice and flush. Okay, so there we have our bolts are in there and they're countersunk now, so there's not going to be a problem. It's going to set flat. Now you can totally avoid this step by buying handles that just screw from the top. So like anytime you do something like this, just make sure you get both of the bolts started before you tighten it down. That's just assembly 101. Nice and flat. It's right on there. Okay. So let's assemble this thing. Okay, so we're going to take our 2 top pieces and we're just going to set them aside. And we are going to laminate the bottom here. So I have them set out the way that I want them. I'm going to put pipe clamps down because it's the easiest way to piece them together. Okay, so I'm going to flip that one up. I'm going to flip this one up. I'm going to keep them in the order that they're going. I learned from doing the prototype here because I put those roundovers on top. Try to keep the glue away from the top as much as possible. And then very quickly, if you do get any, after we get it together, we're going to wipe it out. Because it did affect the stain a little bit. And we do not need to go super heavy with the glue on these because they're going to have breadboards on them. Okay, so I'm just going to put that in there like that. Okay, I don't want to over tighten them. Probably crank them down a little bit once I get tops on. So these are the breadboards. So these are going to get glued on there, and it's all going to be nice and tight together. Bolts can't possibly come out, so the handles can't possibly come off. But if you want to try to make sure they don't come loose, you might want to put a little bit of Loctite on the threads there. I did that on the prototype. I didn't do it on this one. Didn't think of it. So I'm just going to place it kind of, wherever I think it's nice and centered. Okay, we're back. So what had happened was we had our camera ran out of juice. Bad on us, I guess. Right before I could continue with putting the nails in. So what I did was after I put these on there, I just stuck the clamps on like this and just let it dry. So I had put half a dozen of them on there, whatever, doesn't matter. So I'm going to continue on with the assembly as if that wasn't done, because this is not designed to use a ton of clamps. Okay, so carrying on. I'm going to use 1 1/4 inch brad nails. Maybe you don't need that many, but this is going to be a really rusty piece anyway, so I'm just doing damage to it, so that's good. You're going to let it dry, assuming this wasn't dry, which it is, of course. Now, because the bolts don't go all the way through, because they're not long enough, I'm going to now flip this over. I'm going to pre-drill. I'm just going to use 1 1/4 inch deck screws. And I have these strategically placed on the 4 edges here where they're going to give support, but when we're done, you're going to be able to cover the screws up with felt pads. Set your clutch pretty low on this because pine is really soft and you don't want it to plow right through it. Okay, now let's get ready to stain it. Okay, now right before we stain here, we're going to rustify it. Something I've never done before, but apparently you can't do it wrong. You just gotta beat the hell out of it in various spots. Put dents in it and stuff. Take a little nail here, pound that in a couple different spots. Get scratches on it. I don't know, maybe I'm getting carried away, but like I said, I've never done this before. Usually I try to prevent it from getting dented and scratched. And because we're making this very rustic, we're not going to use any pre-stain on it because we want it to be, if it's a little blotchy, then all the better. So I'm going to be using red oak. The other one that we did is dark walnut, but I don't like doing things the same twice. All right, so there's the bottom done. I'm just going to leave it for about 5 minutes, and then I'm going to wipe it down with the cloth, and then I'll flip it over and stain the rest of it. All right, so about 5 minutes later now, I'm just going to finish wiping this off. And you can see that nice uneven penetration of the stain there. Beautiful. And this is stained, so it's absorbing into the wood, so you don't need to worry about it, wiping off like paint. Just try not to get it on the metal too much, but it'll just wipe off. And of course, if you do get the handles that you screw on afterwards, you don't need to worry about it. Yeah, see, I just got a blob on there, and then I got a blob on the bottom there. So when I wipe it down, I'm just going to make sure that I get the excess off there. It's not going to stick to it. And you probably can't tell too much, but I got one there. It just doesn't want to quite get the stain in there, so I just use a toothpick and I kind of stab it in there, and that usually does the trick pretty good. Okay, there we go. Here's our dark walnut, and here's our red oak one. Different handles because I couldn't get these handles after I built the prototype. I went to go get more and I couldn't. Had to get a different store. You could use the different handles that you screw on, as I probably mentioned in the video. You don't have to do it this way. This is just the way I wanted to do it. I sealed this one. I'm going to do that one all the way around with polyacrylic just to keep the moisture from going in and out of it and making it warp. Also, if you spill stuff on there, you can wipe it off easy. They cost about $10 to build, depending on where you are, and you probably can get between $40 and $50 for them as well. If you get batching them out, you can crank them out pretty quick. I figure you could do about a half an hour on the high side, depending on how quick you are, which makes it pretty good money, $50, $60 an hour profit. There's your 2 different finishes. I really like how patchy this one turned out, but this one's really nice too. I don't like to do the same thing twice, that's why they're 2 different colors. 2 hours from now, Game 7. So we'll see how well that sign does. Go Jays go. If you like this, you can check out our video up there, which is on making pumpkins for your Thanksgiving. And we'll click on the box down there if you want to go over our DIY channel and help us get that one going. All right, thanks for watching.